Differentials rise like morning sun, chasing points, the game's begun. Big decisions week by week, fantasy glory's what we seek. Pick your squad, the clock won't wait. Captain choice will seal your fate. Two enthusiasts breaking it down. Fantasy kings, we're taking the crown.
Hello, and welcome to another episode of Tinker Time, an FPL pod, the show for every fantasy Premier League manager who's already second-guessing their 10th draft. It's Thursday, October 30th, 2025, and whether you're finally locked into your Gameweek 10 draft or just here to discuss some differentials, you've come to the right place. I'm Matt, alongside Jim, and we're here to help you tweak, test, and yes, tinker your way to the top of your mini-league. We'll break down the best value picks, fixture trends, and hidden gems, so you don't have to stare at your squad screen in despair. So let's pop the hood, crack open the spreadsheet, and get tinkering. Jim Buck 2, how are you today?
I am doing well. In the festive spirit, I'm getting ready for Mischief Night. I gotta go out after this, cause some mayhem. How about yourself?
Are you
You throwing any eggs?
Well, I got to be honest. Like eggs and toilet paper nowadays, they're kind of expensive, and
True.
you know me, I use plenty of toilet paper. And I love eggs.
You need to eat more fiber. You will cut down on toilet paper.
You want me to eat the toilet paper? Is that what you're saying? That would be. I've been trying to cut back on the toilet paper. No, I have a septic tank, so yeah, no, it's a fun time here. I would say Halloween. I feel like the whole month has been Halloween. I'm ready for Halloween to kind of come to a head tomorrow, but it's for the kids.
What candy are you looking forward to trick-or-treating for?
I'm not, honestly, I'm not really a big like sugary candy guy. I'm more of a chocolate kind of caramel nougat kind of guy.
Yeah, caramel doesn't have any sugar in it.
Well, no. But like my wife loves like the Sour Patch, like the Twizzlers, like the Airheads,
The gummies.
those.
Gummy.
Yeah, like those just get like stuck in your teeth and like they hurt your teeth. Whereas I like a Twix, I like a Reese's, I like a Kit Kat, something a little bit more.
Good pronunciation of Reese's.
Well, yeah, I'm not an idiot. I mean, I speak on a podcast for a living, obviously. So
Which
yeah,
podcast is that?
Oh yeah, this hobby here. But yeah, it's should be fun. I got my blue Power Ranger costume ready to go and ready to fight some crime tomorrow in the neighborhood. So
There you go.
should be good. You got your costume picked out? I think a couple weeks ago you said you weren't sure yet what you were being.
I think we're just gonna go with the same as last year. I have a Mr. Potato Head t-shirt.
Mr. Potato Head t-shirt.
It's a costume shirt. It's a costume.
It's
I've been wearing it throughout the year though, so I do think he's missing an eyebrow and maybe part of his mouth, but it's all right.
Okay. All right. I mean, it's creative, I would say.
Yeah.
I'm sure I'll see some pictures.
A lot of action midweek here.
Yeah, good segue. I'll be very honest. It's been a hectic week here in between eps. I have not paid a ton of attention to the midweek fixtures, but there's been a lot of developments on the interwebs. What has stood out to you most?
Well, obviously Spurs lost to Newcastle. Shar with a goal, so I think we kind of said last week their back line was a little beat up with injuries, but that didn't seem to bother them. So Spurs are out of both additional cups this year.
It's kind of a bullshit goal. I mean, Spence was tying his shoe. Yeah.
Spurs have like 15 players that are injured. It is absurd.
I think I just saw something that Thomas Frank said they're only going to have 12 players in their first team for this weekend's matchup.
That's tough when you get Chelsea.
Yeah, not great.
Yeah.
Speaking of Chelsea, I actually saw a rumor that they are full on preparing to replace Maresca with Iraola after this season. I don't know where people pull these rumors out of. I mean, it feels like everyone could be a pundit these days. Anyone could just say anything, and it's considered a legitimate source because nobody can disprove it. I guess that could be a legitimate rumor. Why not? That sounds like it could be real.
Yeah, I don't know. I think that the laws are different over there. No,
I don't know. They're ruled by kings and queens over there,
I think
so they
it's
have royal decree.
guilty until proven not guilty.
I don't know. I don't live there. I've never been convicted of a crime over there.
I did spend some time abroad
Oh, you
when I
did.
was younger, so
You
I
did.
do have a little more experience than you. Yeah,
Maybe we can get Meghan Markle on that pod here, and she can talk us through kind of the difference between
I
U.S.
was I was
and the
there
UK.
before her, so
That's before she was famous. Yeah.
yeah. I mean, I'm not saying I know a lot more than her, but I might know a little bit more than her.
Are you saying you know more than a woman? Okay, let's move on.
Not every
Um,
woman.
okay. Yeah. So, I mean, what else stood out to you midweek? Anything else?
I mean, the obvious one, Liverpool, right?
Mm. So
The cold,
that's I think
cold streak continues.
yeah, 6 losses in their last 7. Um, Jim, I think the official stat is Liverpool have not recorded a point in the Premier League in 39 days. I think that is the running count of days
That's a
without a
long
point.
time.
That's a really long time. That's more than a calendar month, for those who are keeping track. Um, when asked post game, what's going on, I feel like Slot's response was
Yeah,
kind of threw some folks. It was very honest. I'll give him that.
I have issue with his comment. So
Do you want to tell the listeners what he said?
basically, he said like, you look at who City started midweek, and they started essentially their first team. And he said, I made 2 subs, and I have teenagers playing. So basically, he's saying his squad is not good enough after the absurd amount of money they spent this summer.
Yeah.
It's like you can't you can't do that. Everybody knows the context of what you're saying. Nobody's
Yeah.
gonna like feel sorry for you.
I honestly, I saw a quote and I wasn't sure if it was taken out of context or if it was like quote in summary, but the quote that I saw was he said allegedly that these competitions historically we have treated or we have reserved them essentially for our teenagers. We normally use them for our teenagers to get an opportunity to play. So almost like basically saying like, yeah, we're not going to feature our 1A, first team. Like that's not the intention of these tournaments for us. So almost basically almost kind of giving himself a get out of jail free card by saying that. But at the same time, yeah, to your point, it's like when you go out and you spend 450 million this past summer on, record breaking transfer after record breaking transfer, I mean, to get
Yeah.
bounced when you did, uh, and to be in the form that you've been in, I mean, we were talking about Pep losing his form. I think he had lost like 3 out of his last 4 at a point a few weeks ago, or at certain points. But like this is a really bad run.
Yeah, and it's not even like I mean, Verts hasn't even been starting, right? He might have started the last game or 2,
He
just
started
due to
last game.
injury. Like, this is a time to play him. No? Like, just because you're saying you have teenagers in doesn't mean you needed to start them. You can't then
Yeah.
complain that the lineup you set didn't do well when you had other players available to you.
I don't, and we talked a little bit about it on the last episode. I really don't think it's an issue with their ability to score goals. I think they're conceding at a rate that we haven't seen them concede in previous seasons. Like, what was their differential? Right? They've allowed, I think it was like 13 goals. Like Arsenal have allowed 3. Like, think about that. That's a
14.
massive disparity. Is it 14 now?
14. They're
Okay.
tied with Brentford and Leeds. They're behind. Sorry, Burnley and Forest have 17, and West Ham has 20, and Wolves have 19. So they're
Okay.
not too far off.
Right. So I don't think anybody would have projected Liverpool. I mean, even with their changes, again, and I think we've said that, like with Trent leaving, I don't think anybody would have expected Liverpool's defense to necessarily get worse because he wasn't really playing defense. But somehow it has taken a step back. I mean, it's almost like Trent leaving. Let me put it this way: it's almost like when Trent was playing, they almost knew they had to cover for him. So the defenders tried that much harder to play defense, and they played better defense. Now they actually have defenders in there, and Frimpong and I think Frimpong and Kirk has, but like they actually have defenders back there, and now they're playing worse defense. Like I don't know, it's like some mental gymnastics going on in a weird way. I don't know.
But I mean, to be fair, they started Robertson at center back,
That was odd.
Calvin Ramsey at right back. So like it was a weak lineup to begin with. I don't know. I think the more surprising thing, they're not losing close games. They're just like they look so bad. They lost 3-0 and they got a red card. That's not Liverpool of late.
Yeah, and let's give credit to Palace. I mean, they started, I'd say, just looking at their lineup, at, let's say 75% of their first team. I mean,
Yeah.
they started Sarr, Munoz, their back line, Lacroix, Gahey, Hughes and Kamada. They've gotten starts in the Prem before. Pino, who came in, is we've talked about. He wasn't necessarily like a 1-to-1 replacement with Eze, but they did give him the number 10, and he had a goal and assist as he gets more acclimated.
I think it's his first
You
goal
know,
for them, right?
I'm not sure. It may be. You might
First
be
goal.
on there.
He had
Yeah.
a goal and an assist.
Yeah. So, and I think Adina Kenya, he went down, I think, with a hamstring injury after this one. So, I mean, Palace, to be fair, they've played Liverpool tough this season already once. There might be a little bit of, hey, we can play with this team. So I don't want to take anything away from Palace in this instance too. It's not like Wolves came in and beat down Liverpool. I think if that was the case, we'd really be saying like, what the hell is going on here? But
Yeah.
it being Palace, like, they've been pretty good this season, and they've been pretty good for they had a pretty long unbeaten streak as well. So yeah.
Right. I guess that's where I have a problem with it. Slot knew that going in, right? They knew Palace weren't going to be an easy match. So start
Yeah.
your first team. If you want to move on, start your better players. Them at half after you have a lead. But he went in basically conceding the match and then complaining that he started the backups. I don't know. I think this, for me, it's kind of highlighting that it's more of a slot problem than a player problem at the moment.
Yeah, I mean, even looking at that bench, I mean, there's really nobody he could have even brought on to really impact that game. You've got to think that these managers know those dressing rooms better than we do, right?
Maybe.
Maybe. I'd like to think that there's obviously a reason that most of the first team was excluded, didn't even travel, right, for this game. Well, I guess it was home, but the point being, like, you'd like to think, for a manager who just coming off, winning the Premier League, there's a method to the madness. It's not just like, I'm starting the teenagers because that's what we seem to always do. You'd like to think there's a little bit of reasoning and thought going into it. So maybe there is. I don't know. If Liverpool now, if they run off a streak of 7 or 8 wins in a row, we might look back at this and say, hey, like, yeah, it's a good thing he started the kids here because it gave them a little bit of rest and gave them a chance to get their legs under them again. And who knows, right? Like, I don't know.
Yeah, but that's going to be tough because they have Villa, Real Madrid, then City.
Yeah. No,
So
I'm not saying that it's going to happen.
you
I'm
got a
just saying
gauntlet
that,
ahead
like,
of them.
with the lineup they have, I don't think it should surprise anyone that like they have the talent to turn it around. Slots just got to figure out how to tap into it. So,
Yep.
but will he be around? I don't know.
Yeah, I think he's in the hot seat. But
Yeah. All right. So so midweek was fun. Real quick, I think let's switch it up a little bit this week instead of kind of going like through each fixture. Why don't we jump into maybe captaincy picks, and then we'll kind of go through some differentials, and then we'll do something a little bit different this week. We've got a list of burning questions. We had a little bit of mailbox this week, and we'll try to get through as many as we can. And I think we'll probably be able to cover a lot of the kind of preview of the fixtures for this week. So maybe we'll just kind of get through it that way. What do you think?
yeah, let's do it.
All right. So captaincy picks this week. We've got an interesting slate of games this week. I mean, just looking at the slate, so maybe we can just at least state. So no Friday fixture this week. So but I think you mentioned it last week. So interesting game times this week. Looks like the first game this week on Saturday is at 11 Eastern. So with the clocks going back, I think they already account for that on Saturday, right? Am I seeing that right? Is the app kind of
They're 2 weeks ahead of us, yeah.
yeah? So yeah, kind of a weird start time, but so Brian playing Leeds at 11 o'clock. Burnley and Arsenal are playing at 11. Us and Brentford at 11. Fulham and Wolves at 11. Crist and Man United at 11. These are all Eastern time. And Spurs are taking on Chelsea at 1:30. Liverpool playing Villa. What is that at 4 p.m.? It's an interesting time. I can't remember the last time we had a 4 p.m. game on a Saturday.
I'm not complaining.
That could be fun.
Those
I'll be
perfect, like, getting dinner ready,
I'll be
watching
at the
my phone.
blackjack table, baby. So then that's the Saturday slate. And then Sunday, we've got a 9 a.m. Eastern fixture, West Ham against Newcastle, 11:30, Man City against Bournemouth, and then a Monday fixture, Sunderland against Everton. Like just immediate reaction to the slate. To me, there's one fixture I think that I think managers are going to flock to for captaincy. What do you think that fixture is?
I'm hoping you're gonna say Arsenal Burnley.
Oh, no, I wasn't going to, but I want to
Really?
hear your thoughts. I wasn't going to say that.
I mean, Burnley just haven't been great. I think this might be a time where you break out a captain on an Arsenal defender.
I was hoping you were going to go here.
You know?
So I want to hear it. Go ahead.
I mean, what else is there to hear? You are expecting them to keep a clean sheet. Their defenders have consistently been putting goals in. If you're going to take a shot, I mean, I can't find a better opportunity to captain a defender than this game.
Yeah. So I think, and this was actually one of the questions in the mailbag, basically kind of saying, if you look at the players of the week, I don't have the exact breakdown, but there have been, 9 game weeks. I think out of the 9, I think it's been like something like 6 have been defenders, like 2 have been midfielders, and I think one's been a forward. I think that adds up to 9. Do you pull the trigger and start to, have more of captaincy on defenders? I don't know. I really haven't done like the napkin math to figure out, at what point does it become, does that risk outweigh the reward? It does feel like defenders are like really the value picks this season. It's interesting though that you say you would go a defender for that fixture. I'm curious why you would go defender over someone like Saka though in that fixture.
If I wasn't as low in the table, I'd probably go Saka.
So you're going defender mainly as like pure differential.
Yeah. I mean, truth be told, I probably will end up on Saka because I've been too risky this year, and
I want you to be honest to our listeners.
the risks have not paid out. Although maybe now's the time to quadruple down.
You're going Foden?
But I mean, I think there's little risk of them losing this game. And who has been contributing the goals? The defense. I don't know.
Yeah.
I only have one defender, so if I do, it would be Timber. So I don't know. I think Saka or a defender would be a smart pick. Even if they get a clean sheet. I mean, you're looking at 12 points plus maybe 2 for defensive contributions. Plus, you never know. The bonus.
Yeah, well, that's where my head's going right now. So, like, let's say Timber, right? Let's say assume he gets the start, assume he gets the 60 minutes, and let's assume they get a clean sheet. Because if he doesn't get the clean sheet, then you're really just banking on a goal. Because even the def con there, it's only 2 points with a captaincy. That's only 4 points. So to your point, clean sheet would be 6 points plus the 2 points they get for. Sorry, the clean sheet is 4 points with the 2 points. So that would be, to your point, 12 points. Throw in, let's say, 2 more points for a def con.
Yeah, with the def con, 16.
16. So for Saka to match that, what would he need? He would need a goal would be.
You would need
6 points.
A goal and a clean sheet to get 8 points, double of 16.
Okay. So if Timber's getting the clean sheet, so is Saka. So that would be essentially a wash. So, I mean, that's interesting then.
I also saw something that from open play, and I forget when it goes back to, Saka's only averaging like 2 goals and however many assists from open play. So I probably should have saved this or sent it to you, but it's something that, like, even from open play, Saka's numbers specifically are not great. So he's also benefiting from corners and penalties.
Interesting.
previous years. And I mean, to be honest, he has not had a great year despite being highly owned, given everybody's buying in on Arsenal. But like we're saying, the goals are not coming through him at the moment. We're waiting for
No.
that to turn. He's looked good, but from an FPL perspective, he might be more of a risk to captain than a defender at this point.
Yeah. No, it's interesting. Where my head kind of went when I was looking at that fixture, honestly, I was actually looking at not so much Saka. I was actually looking at Eze, believe it or not. So if you look at his
Mm,
look at his form. 11 points last week against Palace. Obviously, he had the goal. 3 points against Fulham. 6 points against West Ham. Had the assist. He blanked against Newcastle. 4 points against City with an assist. 6 points against Forest with an assist. So I mean, it feels like with Odegaard being out, Eze is likely going to be pretty involved in their attack, in their goal contribution. Um, could be, great differential, much more affordable as well than Saka would be,
what
only
is he at
priced at
right now?
7.6,
Pretty good.
right? Saka right now, as we're chatting, is priced at 10 mil. So sure, if you're moving off of, say, Salah and you want to move to, then if you have the money, if you still have Cole Palmer in your team and you're trying to move off him, sure, then you've got the funds. But maybe if you don't, I wouldn't write off Eze. Could be a very differential captain to
Yeah.
consider. But
Did Saka just jump up today? I could have swore he was 9-9.
I can check. Please hold. Let's see. He was 9-9. He was 9-9 at, let's see. He was 9-9 in game week 9. No, sorry. He was not, he was 10 in game week 9. So he at least, yeah. I can't tell if he moved at the end of game week 9 or at the beginning of game week
Yeah,
9, but
doesn't matter.
he's been right around there. So that's interesting though. That was not where I was going.
All
Where
right,
I was going,
where were you going?
I was going somewhere else. I was actually targeting our boy Voltemade against West Ham.
Mm.
Voltemade
Hmm.
scored again in the midweek fixture against, I don't want to say a depleted Spurs back line, but it was not Romero and Van de Ven back there. But nonetheless, Voltemade just seems to keep scoring. I don't know if you saw the post. I don't know if it was. I think it was Newcastle's PR or like their Twitter or Instagram team. They posted, but basically it was like a picture of Voltemade after he scored his goal, and then in the background where they kind of had the like the ad, kind of like around the perimeter of the field. I think it said like invest in more. I guess it was supposed to be a shot at Isaac, basically, because like you know Baltimore's had a great campaign, much better than Isak as far as results. Um, yeah, I mean, I could see a lot of managers backing Baltimore this week. I mean, the set it and forget it thus far, I think we would agree, has been Holland. This week, Holland's going to be playing Bournemouth in their defense. So Petrovic, Senesi, Bournemouth's defense has been pretty good. Holland is kind of fixture proof, but we have seen, right, when he does kind of play against a defense that's a little bit more formidable, he can be slowed down. West Ham's defense have not given myself, and I don't want to speak for you, but I don't think they've given you any reason to believe that they can really slow
Yeah,
down
no,
most
not yet.
offense.
No,
So, right. So I am considering Voltemade as a very strong captaincy candidate.
I can see that. He's
Yeah.
still on my list of targets to bring in. And if I do, yeah, I agree. He's
Yeah.
a good choice. They've been looking good. I mean, he blanked last week, but scored midweek, so any fears
Yeah.
were quickly washed away.
Yeah. Yeah. He still priced at 7.5, owned by now just under 20, sorry, just over 23%. So he's getting up there in ownership, but 23%, that still means, 3 out of every 4 don't own him. So if you think of it that way, you might be able to gain some ground in your mini leagues. So
I mean, and they scored with not their best lineup too. I mean, Joe
no,
Bulk got the
right, right,
start,
right, right, right. Yeah.
so it's like it could all be coming together for them.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, agree. Good pick there.
I had one other that I would be willing to throw out there.
Give it a toss.
None other than the man, the myth, the legend, Ryan Mboma.
Yeah.
They're, United all season. We have said it. Their expected goals have, their totals have looked great. they're actually starting to convert. They're getting the results. Bomo's been hot. United seem to have found something. It's clicking there. Um, Sean Dyche is going to have a better defense in theory than Ange will, but it's still implementing a system. It's going to take a little time. Bowen was coming off a brace from last week. I could see, even though he doesn't have penalties, we assume Bruno is still on penalties. I could see Mbomo still being an option for some managers. If I take a look at his ownership right now, so he's priced at 8.2 mil. He's got 51 points on the season, but that is largely driven by last game week. So we had 15 points last week, and then 9 points the week prior, and 6 points in game week 7. So it's basically had 30 points out of his 51 in the last 3 game weeks, but owned by the same 23.3%. So basically, everyone who owns Voltimate also owns Brian Mbomo, apparently, according to those numbers. But yeah, so a little bit more expensive than Eze, but also in phenomenal form. He's at a 10 FPL's form. Is that the highest form you could be in?
I honestly still don't understand how they calculate that form, but
I don't think anybody does.
that's
So
pretty good.
yeah,
Yeah, I really like him, Memo. I'm looking to
you
bring
like
him in.
like him.
I like him. I feel like he has this is a good one for you. He has a high boom, but also a high bust chance this week. Because if Forest have been as bad as they have been, then agree. He could really put some away. And
He could bust all over them.
yeah. However, if Deitch really gets in there and cracks some skulls and takes away the ping pong tables and really tightens up the locker room, he might struggle. So I think I don't know. He would be one that I would avoid. I want to bring him in, but I don't know if I'd give him the captain. But yeah, I wouldn't fault you for doing it.
I'm tempted. I know.
You
I
have
think it
him?
was either last episode. I don't have him right now, but I don't want to. I don't want to go against my own word. It's because I'm also on record saying form is it's a rear facing metric, and then things can turn around just as quickly as they can go the other way. United, their attacking threat has looked great all season. That's not anything new. Like, it's just the fact that they're actually converting them now. So I don't know. Maybe this is not something that it's not a fluke, right? We talked about that last episode too. So yeah, I don't know. Could be
Yeah.
Could be interesting. So yeah, some good captaincy picks. We didn't mention Holland. He's not a bad choice, but I guess you could still throw him in there. And I don't think you can throw Salah in there today.
I mean, quickly, Holland probably is a good pick, right? I mean, Bournemouth haven't had the best clean sheet record. They had a clean sheet last week against Forest, so that's not saying much.
I'm not saying much.
But then Palace scored, Fulham scored, Leeds scored. They held Newcastle, but Brighton scored. So going back to the beginning of September, they've had 1 clean sheet, or 2 clean sheets. I mean, not the best, and obviously Holland is a phenom, so he's a safe pick, but I think there's better options.
Yeah. I think this is a week where if you wanted to go against the set it and forget it, I think you could see some dividends if you chose to do so.
Right. But if you're at the top of the league, like, Henry Paradise, you could probably just go with him. Smart pick.
Yeah.
Those bottom
Or
dwellers of us.
we don't
like
tell
us.
Henry what to do. Yeah, because Henry seems to know exactly what he's doing. So he probably doesn't even.
Henry, let us know what.
Yeah, Henry,
We
tell
need
us
to hear
what you're
from you.
doing.
We
Yeah,
need to hear
we
from
need to know. Yeah. So just so we know you're not a bot. All right.
That would
Moving
be
on. So let's
devastating.
talk. That would be an absolute dagger. Boy. All
I
right,
didn't
let's
want to
move
think about
on.
that.
Differentials. So this one's fun. So you want to talk some keepers, maybe, Jimbo?
So we're saying under 10% is
Yeah.
a differential. I prefer a little bit lower, but I'll allow it. So we have Henderson at 5 mil, owned by 7.5%. Roofs at 4.6 mil, owned by 5.6%. And then Matt Sells at 4.9 mil, owned by 9.4%. I mean, goalkeepers are kind of, I don't even know why we're going over these because nobody's making transfers for goalkeepers at the moment, right? You have who you have. Unless you can't start one through an injury, there's probably other things you want to fix in your squad. No.
Well, so I will say though, I don't hate the Henderson pick for the longevity of your team, right? We've talked about Palace. They're about to go on a pretty good fixture run. So if you were looking to maybe, say you've got Pickford in your team or you've got Raya or you have like a more premium keeper and, you've got maybe an extra transfer floating around or you're looking to maybe free up some funds. I do think Henderson would be a good move if the rest of your outfield is pretty much set in stone. I would be okay with that move. As far as Rofs or Sells goes, I mean, we just kind of talked about it. I mean, we don't really know what Forest is going to bring defensively. And then Sunderland's defense, I mean,
No.
credit to them. I mean, he's going to get saves, right? I don't think he's really going to necessarily get clean sheets, but he's going to get saves and he's going to get bonus. So
Yeah, but
that's
there's
probably the
cheaper
purest
goalkeepers.
differential.
There's cheaper goalkeepers than both of those that you could start.
How many cheaper? How many goalkeepers? I'm curious. Are actually cheaper than them? I know folks probably aren't actually that interested, but
So
I am gonna look.
Ariel is 4-3.
But like, would anybody actually bring him in at this point?
Marmadashvili is 4-3. Bruggen's 4-4. Arlo is 4.
Jose Saz.
Yeah. So I
Yeah. So I
mean
mean,
there
there's
are,
a there.
but that's the thing. I mean they're not going to make a move to bring in a backup keeper. You're not making a move to bring in Sunderland keeper as a backup.
Right. Right. Yeah. I mean, especially right now with Dubravka, still sitting at 4 mil, still starting. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. In the same in the same spirit. So I'll take defenders. So we've got Lacroix at 5 mil and by 3.7%. We've been talking about him for weeks. Reece James at 5.5 mil, owned by 7.5%. And Mukiele at 4.1 mil over at Sunderland, owned by 4.8%. These are all names I feel like we've discussed over the last few weeks,
Yeah.
especially Lacroix. I mean, the same reason we just brought up about Henderson. Palace have a pretty good fixture run coming up. Palace defense in general has been fairly attractive, and they've been playing good defense. Reece James has been on a pretty good has been in pretty good form. Chelsea also have a pretty good fixture run.
Yes, they
The only
do.
the only downside there is his price. I mean, 5.5 is starting to get a little bit expensive. But if you can find the funds at 7.5% ownership, when we pulled these numbers earlier today, that's a pretty low ownership for what we're seeing. So
Mhm.
could be a way to make up some ground. And Mukiele at 4.1. I mean that's your budget piece. I mean, you could swap that with Reynaldo, Mukiele, Esteve, right? Any of these names where they're just really budget. I think Mukiele probably at this point is the cheapest player who is the least owned. I think most managers at this point have caught on to Esteve, and he's in a lot of managers' teams. Same with Reynaldo. So Mukiele
Stemming
might be
on by
that kind of
12.6.
yeah. So he's over the 10%. That was our qualification
Yep.
for this list. I'm curious, what is Reynaldo at right now?
He's only 4-5, but I think that's
Okay.
largely because he had the red card.
Yeah. So he probably had a drop.
Yeah.
So yeah. You want to take the mids?
Yeah, midfielder. So is Meliasar at 6.5 mil, won by 9.1%. Could be a good alternative to Mateta if you want to target a midfielder for Palace. Morgan Rogers is 6.8 mil, owned by 4.9%. You know me, I'm not a fan of him this year, nor have I been in the past, but he is an option if he gets consistent minutes. And then Mateus Cunha at 7.9 mil, owned by 4.1%. So with him getting some consistent starts and Buemo and Sheshko starting to contribute with the three of them clicking together, could be a good alternative. Save, I think Buemo's 8.2 at the moment, so could save a few
Yeah.
tenths there if you go with Cunha.
Yeah. No, it's wild to think that Rogers at this point in the season has dropped in price and would be considered a differential. Like beginning of the season, I don't remember what his ownership was at the beginning of the season, but it was probably not 4.9%. It was probably in the, I imagine, double digits, maybe in the teens. I don't think he ever scraped 20s, but coming off of his campaign last season, what I assume a lot of folks
Well, he hasn't done much.
had. What's up?
He hasn't really done much this year.
Well, Villa didn't do anything to begin the season.
Yeah.
Yeah, but yeah, and that Sar pick I love. I mean, if he hadn't gotten injured,
Yeah.
I think his ownership would have been even higher at this point. It seems like when he's healthy, he returns, especially with Eze gone now. It's going to be him and Mateta. That's their focal point. You saw in the midweek, he contributed. So I would expect Sar to be brought in to a lot of folks' teams.
I agree. How about up top? Who are you looking
All
at?
right, so up top, we've got a few names here that we've mentioned also on other eps too. So we've got Thiago over at Brentford, 6.2 mil, owned by 6.9%. Nice. Isildur, we always say it wrong, but it's Isildur. And 5.6 mil,
Throw it in the
owned by
fire.
3.4% over at over at Sunderland, coming off that goal to beat Chelsea. And Krupi Jr., so 4.6 mil priced, owned by 3.5% over at Bournemouth. So these are all names we've talked about. This is likely to be your third forward. I don't know if necessarily you're even planning on starting that third forward week to week. So just keep that in mind. I will say Thiago is on penalties. I don't know if we know for certain if Isidore is on penalties. I don't think we checked if I don't think he's technically listed on the depth chart, Isidore, as first on penalties, but I don't think we've seen a Sunderland penalty, so that could change. And then Krupi's not on penalties. I think Semenyo is, or no, Tavernier is on penalties, right?
Well, so for Sunderland, it's Mayenda, Roberts, then Isildur.
Right. Yeah. But I'm saying for Bournemouth, Krupi's definitely not on penalties, so take that for what it is. But
It's Kluivert takes home.
Kluivert. Sorry, I said Tavernier. My bad. All right. So those are some differentials to keep in mind this week in case you're looking to bring anyone in. All right. So we've got a little bit of mailbox here. I think we've touched on a few of these here. Let's just kind of seed through them here, see if anything stands out. Why don't you pick one, Jimbo? We can maybe try to get through a few of them. We'll try to time box them a little bit so we can get through as many as we want.
Yeah, so I think one that we should start talking about, and we were texting midweek here, is the AFCON transfers incoming. So something that I didn't realize until the other night was that, yeah, we get 5 free transfers when it starts, but we don't necessarily need to use them all at once. So with that, yes, Salah's going to go, all these other players are going to go. But when they come back, I think we really need to be thinking about how many transfers should we be keeping to be able to get players back in. It's going to be tough because obviously form is going to come into it, and when we think players are going to be rested and how soon they come back when they get eliminated. But
Yeah.
I don't know. It's just something to have on the radar that we kind of been saying you get 5 free transfers in game week 16 for game week 16, but maybe not necessarily use all of them at once and kind of use some of those to roll through the end of the first half of the season until we get our chips back.
Yeah. Yeah, I think you bring up a really good point. Unless you can somehow field a team that you can pretty confidently say, this is the team I'm going to roll with for the next, 4 or 5 game weeks to the point, or at least maybe 3, because I think, right, if you think about the tournament, they're all going to play, kind of the first 2 game weeks worth of games. And then at that point, you might start to see some players come back. So at a minimum, I think you'd want to try to at least keep 2 or 3 so that you could have some transfers in the bank to bring some players back when they do come back.
Yeah.
But I guess the counter to that, most of the players I think that you would really want to bring back, they are probably, if I had to go out on a limb, they're probably more likely to advance pretty deep in AFCON, right? I'm thinking about like Salah, Marmoush, like those types of players, they're probably not going to be gone for a week or two with AFCON. They're probably more likely to advance pretty far. So just thinking about that, if you did use, say, all 5-year free transfers right when you got them, you'd have a chance to almost, kind of rebuild your bank of transfers by the time you needed to get them back in, because they wouldn't
That's a
even
good
be
point.
necessarily back eligible. So I don't know. I mean, to be very honest, it's going to be interesting to see what a lot of managers do. And another kind of thorn that got thrown into the side of things. So with the EFL Cup draw that kind of happened yesterday, it looks like we may end up seeing a double game week for Arsenal in game week 16. So I think we really weren't expecting any double game weeks or any blank game weeks for the first half of the season, nor do we usually see that previous campaigns. But now it's looking like there might be a double game week for Arsenal, and it might be a pretty attractive one. I think it would be, last we checked, right, it would be Arsenal would get Wolves and Everton in a double game week 16. So
Yeah.
if you're thinking about the mechanics of how all these transfers would line up. If you haven't used your wild card yet, if you haven't used your free hit, if you haven't used your triple captain, if you haven't used your bench boost, you might want to start thinking about how you can really line those up with the 5 free transfers you're going to get for AFCON to take advantage of this potential double game week, to cover yourself for the potential blank game week, to cover yourself for the AFCON departures, to cover yourself for the AFCON returns, like you just mentioned, Jimbo.
Yeah.
So yeah, there's a lot of planning, but also like don't over plan, because that's some shit can just hit the fan just as quick.
Yeah. Right. A couple of injuries throw, all the
Right.
planning out the window. But Arsenal they don't have anybody going to AFCON, right? I'm looking back at our notes
Doesn't
from
doesn't
the
look
last
like it.
couple weeks.
I think I
So, I
think
mean,
yeah.
so they might double in 16, but blank in 17. So it might be you load up on Arsenal for the double, then you use a free hit in 17 to cover yourself because they're blanking, and then you come back in 18 and you still have double
Yeah.
Arsenal or triple Arsenals, and you're still in a good spot.
Yeah, and if I guess for those folks who maybe already used their free hit, because I know some folks have already used it.
Yeah, you were big pushing everybody into game week 1.
I was pushing bench boost game week 1, not free hit game week 1. I actually don't think the game lets you use free hit game
That's
week
true.
1.
That's true. Hand up. I
Uh,
was wrong.
yeah, it's okay. No, but what I was gonna say, I guess in theory you could cover 3 subs. If you if you don't have your free hit, because you're only limited to 3, right? I don't think AFCON's changing the player limits, the team limits during that period. So
What do you mean?
you're only allowed to have 3 players from a team. So during AFCON, that doesn't change. It's not like you can have 4 or 5 players from a team.
Oh, okay.
So all I'm saying is if you don't have your free hit, if you've already used it, you don't have to freak out, because it is only 3 players that you might need to replace. Your bench spots, if they're legitimate bench players, you could just bring them in.
Sure. And with these 4 mil
So
defenders, not too hard to fill in.
right, right, yeah, and with the fact that you're going to get 5 free transfers the week before, so yeah, just to set the context here. So what's going to happen is you're going to receive your 5 free transfers going into game week 16. Use all your transfers in game week 15. So when game week 15 concludes, you're going to get all of your 5 free transfers. In game week 16, potentially is that double game week for Arsenal. So you'll know by then, well in advance, whether that double game week is going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
So you'll have at least confidence at that point to say, okay, I'm going to have 5 free transfers. I can bring in, these 3 Arsenal players. I can bring in 2 non-Arsenal players that I want, that I know I'm going to play in game week 17 when my 3 Arsenal players are sitting. And, I've got some other player that I'm going to plan on playing for sure when the other Arsenal player I have is sitting. That makes it a little easier to cover that free hit if you've already used it. I don't know.
A lot of planning coming up.
A lot of planning. And, the other thing too, correct me if I'm wrong, if you don't use your free hit triple captain, bench boost, or wild card prior to week 20, you lose them, correct?
If you don't use it, you lose it.
Right. So, the first half of the first half after this game week is over. So, and I would almost argue after game week 15, it becomes kind of a tough sell to use some of those, to use the free hit or the wild card, knowing that some players aren't even going to be available when they're at AFCON.
Well, wild card, yeah. I think free hit is still useful because of
Yes.
the
Yes.
because of the blank.
Yes.
And obviously triple captain is.
That's a good question. Thank you for whoever submitted that. We'll have to double back. We wrote the question down. We didn't write down who the commenter was.
Could have been
Sorry
anybody.
about that. Yeah. Maybe it was
Maybe he's already slot.
Casper. All right. You want to pick another one?
Yeah, let's see here. Okay. With Delap's red card, so he returned this mid game week, comes in, gets a red. Does holding João Pedro make sense for this week? Or does his decline, or do we have enough tape on him to say it's time to move him out?
So I'll give you two responses. I'll give you
pick one. Pick your best one.
I'm not going to move on from João Pedro this week because he's not my biggest issue.
Okay. Fair enough.
When I look at my squad, I have other issues that I feel are worth more of my attention. That, like, I look at João Pedro and I think, like, yes, he hasn't been good, but his bad is not as bad as Josh King, as Dorgu, as Reynildo has been on my bench. I need to shore up my bench just in case. So to me, I'm not planning on moving off João Pedro. I also I've been a Spurs fan long enough to know that Chelsea seem to give Spurs fits. Like, these games are always just brutal for us. So wouldn't surprise me if João somehow magically finds his form and puts two past us. I don't know.
That's a really good point.
What do you think? What do you think?
So I was planning to drop him for Mateta myself, but given the red card and the fact that he's probably going to start this week, I don't know. It is tempting to hold him for one more week and see what happens. Given Romero's out, Spurs haven't looked fantastic. I don't know. It's a tough one.
They did have two
If
clean
anything,
sheets
I'd give him one more.
out of their last three.
Say again?
They did have two clean sheets out of their last three before this game against Newcastle, but
Yeah, it was Everton, though.
yeah. No, you're not wrong.
Yeah. I don't know. It's a tough one. I just feel like eventually rotation is going to strike them. Uyu is already getting minutes. Lap's going to be back. He just hasn't done enough to stand the squad, I feel like. And the last thing you want is to be banking on him to be starting, and then he just isn't even in the matchday squad.
No, you're probably right. Yeah, it's a tough one. I mean, I've talked a lot of shit about him. Maybe I'm not talking enough shit about him. Maybe that's what I need to do. Maybe I need to talk more shit about João, and maybe that'll light a fire under that little bitch's ass.
Just feels
little
like
bitch boy.
Just feels like every week we say this is the last chance for him, and eventually we just got to follow through on what we say we're gonna do.
If João was still at Brighton, I don't think we'd be as high on him. I think it's the fact that he's at Chelsea. Like, when he was at Brighton last year, and he was priced at, I think he was priced in like the high fives, or he was like low sixes. It was like, tremendous value, but he wasn't nailed on minutes. And like, now that he's at Chelsea, everyone's like, oh my God, like, phenomenal player. And it's like, this is a guy who was like sometimes starting at Brighton last year. Like, we have to keep that in mind.
Yeah, I think the thing is that Chelsea's still scoring goals.
Yeah.
So that's what keeps you drawn in. It's that the goals are not missing. It's just that he's not getting any of them. It's just every week is a different. I mean, it's kind of like Villa, right? It's like they're doing well, they're winning games, they're scoring, but you can't trust who that's coming from.
Yeah.
And to only have three forwards that you're probably banking, if you have him, you're probably banking on him starting. It's just a scarier and scarier proposition. Right. So I don't know. I'm probably gonna move him out and just hope that Spurs defense holds, but I could see myself kicking myself come Monday night.
Don't be so hard on yourself. It's okay. We've got one more question here, and then I think we'll move on to selections. But this was an interesting one. Let's see here. With any consideration in a defender-heavy formation, considering how many players of the week have come from the back line. So, I mean, my initial thought there is like, I'm never opposed to it. It's usually just kind of fixture driven. Although I will say it kind of like if I have 3 forwards like in my squad that are kind of like higher priced, or I have more midfielders that are kind of like where more of my money is, I have a harder time putting that on my bench. So I don't know. I mean, I've traditionally usually ran like a 3-4-3, sometimes a 4-4-2, but I don't know. I mean, have you thought about like switching it up at all?
I think the easy answer is yes. However, the defenders that are getting the game week highs are not really, they're not the premium defenders. So it's easy to say, yeah, I'm going to go defender heavy, but to be hitting those ones that are returning 15 points a week, you're not going to consistently pick those guys, right? It's not like the days of old when you could have Trent and Robertson and
Right.
Kyle Walker,
That's a really good point.
and you're expecting a clean sheet plus contribution.
Yeah.
It's who from
Yeah.
Burnley is going to score a goal, and is Joe
Right.
Roden going to get a goal on a clean sheet, but then go quiet for 10 weeks? So I think it's easier said than done to go big in the back, given how the premium defenders have done this year.
Yeah. Yeah, I think and it's hard because like I'm just looking at player of the week. So it's not necessarily fair because I'm just looking at like an individual player for each week and not necessarily like the highest scorers for each week. But like to your point, if I look at the list of players here, it might have been Timber, Mark Gahey, maybe Reece James. A lot of managers had Van de Ven, but a lot of managers had him, frankly, because he was in their squad from when Spurs had their easy run. They just hadn't moved on from him yet. I feel like there were just as many managers that had Van de Ven on their bench and missed out on the points than managers that had him and started him. But yeah, I think the only way I could see myself honestly moving formation would be if I could double up on, say, like an Arsenal defender, right? Like where I could go, maybe get like Gabriel and say Timber in there, and then also keep, say, like a Gahey or a Van de Ven, and then like a cheap Joe Roden or something like that. And that would give me, like, a premium center back who's nailed on minutes in the set piece in their attack. It would get Timber, who's in the attack. It would get Van de Ven, who's nailed, not too expensive, and then Roden, who's nailed pretty cheap, also included in the attack. So like that, I could kind of convince myself, but then it would be the question of, who am I sitting? Right now, you could probably convince me just to roll with Holland, Voltamade. I could see myself dropping João Pedro to do that.
Yeah.
So maybe that's my move.
Yeah. But I mean, even that is rolling the dice. I mean, if you look at Timber's numbers, he had 24 points in game week 2 when he was player of the week. After that, he's only had 2 games that are higher than 6 points. So it's like, yes, the boom potential is there. Are those funds better allocated to midfielders and forwards that are more likely to score? You would think so, but I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. It's tough though, because like to your point, if a defender gets a clean sheet in DEF CON, that's almost a pretty much guaranteed 8 points, maybe 10 if they grab a bonus.
8 points, which is the equivalent of a midfielder scoring a goal and keeping a clean sheet.
Right. So the clean sheet would be a wash.
So yeah, I mean, maybe it is as simple as that.
Like what's easier to attain then? Because if the clean sheet's a wash, a goal for a midfielder or DEF CON for a defender, what's easier or more likely
Probably DEF CON
to happen?
Probably DEF CON for premium defenders only, right?
Right?
I would think so.
I would think so. So maybe I don't know. I mean, we're still learning. This DEF CON system is still
Yeah.
relatively new.
Yeah.
But I could see the case. I could see the case.
Yeah.
You might. Yeah. I might have just convinced myself.
You might have convinced me too.
Damn. Okay. All right. Good questions. Thank you guys. Keep sending them in. We appreciate it. It's fun. All right. We'll before I think we gotta pay the bills here real quick. Jimbo, favorite Halloween candy. Go. What do you got?
I like something a little crispy, right? I like Twizzlers, but that's more like a movie theater candy for me. Halloween candy, I like a little cookie crunch, a little chocolate, a little caramel. And what's really the best is Twix. And this episode is actually brought to you by Twix, the only candy bar with a cookie crunch. And apparently the only one worth risking your dignity over in front of your boss. chocolate caramel biscuit, perfectly engineered for snacking satisfaction and conveniently packaged in 2 identical bars. Those who can't commit to just one. Whether you're a left Twix loyalist or a right Twix radical, you're getting the same delicious deal. Though try explaining that to somebody with a full-blown identity crisis at the vending machine. It's the candy of fairness, of balance, of obsession. So grab your Twix today at TwixJustice.com and use code TINKER for 10% off. That's TwixJustice.com, code TINKER. Twix, the candy that proves sometimes there is no right side. Back to the pod.
Man, I'm hungry. Ugh, I love a Twix. You know, I think it's a thing for just this season, or new this season. They've got Twix Ghoulish Green.
Ew.
It's not flavored anything. It's just colored green.
The chocolate is green?
I know the cookie is green. People get paid so much money to come up with ideas that like a 2-year-old or a 3-year-old could come up with. It baffles me.
Well, I painted the duck blue because I never saw a blue duck before.
Yeah. Jesus Christ. All right. Before we get into our selections, just real quick, wanted to give a quick update. We've got a few players that are actually really close to serving some one-match bans because of yellow cards. None that are really super important, but there's a few players that are on 3 yellows, so they're 2 away from suspension. Only a few that we want to point out. Munoz over at Palace, Calafiore, Arsenal defender, Senesi, Jack Grealish, Christian Romero, Dan Byrne. I think that's it. Everyone else I wouldn't worry about, but if you're thinking about bringing them in, just keep in mind, if they accumulate a couple more yellows, they're going to get another suspension. So it's hard to anticipate that. Something to keep in mind. All right. You want to do team selections?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right. You want to go first?
Yes. So at the moment, I'm going to drop João Pedro for Jean-Philippe Mateta and then drop Foden for Brian Mbeumo. I'm
not for a hit.
Correct. I have 2 transfers. I'm also considering dropping. I haven't decided what to do here. I want to drop Kudus and bring in Pedro Neto ahead of their little run. I know you cashed in on him last week, but I also have Alexander Isak, who I don't want to keep with him not playing. So I'm definitely going to do bring in Mateta and Mbeumo, but I want to move on from Kudus and Isak as well, and I don't know which one I'm going to do. I'll probably wait on that. I'll probably put these 2 through and then wait on final transfer until I hear what Isak's status is.
So that's interesting. So I love the Mateta and Mbeumo transfers. The Kudus Neto transfer, I feel like it's kind of a wash. I understand where you're going because I think Neto long term, right, with Chelsea's fixture run, I think makes all the sense.
Yep.
Assuming Neto gets the minutes, I love that. I don't know if I would take a hit for it, but obviously that's something you can contemplate. When you're talking about moving Isak out, who would you bring in for Isak?
Bring Voltemade in.
So your front line would be Holland, Mateta, Voltemade. It's a pretty good front line.
It is. And I mean, to your point,
it's a really good front line.
I probably should do that, right? Because Kudus is going to start, and it's probably a wash with Neto, but Isak is likely not going to start. And even if he does, they haven't looked great.
Yeah.
So
and Newcastle still have a very good fixture run.
Yeah.
Right? Last I remember.
Yeah. I'll probably end up doing that. Hold on hope for Kudus.
I think that's probably the move. If I was going to take a hit this week.
Yeah.
Now, last I checked, I didn't think Isak was close to returning. What have you heard?
I have not seen. He's still flagged 75% with the groin. Most important muscle in the body.
It's up there, right, with the glutes. All right. Who you captaining this week?
So I want to go Timber, but I'll probably chicken out and go Saka.
Okay. All right.
But I might go Timber.
Just don't forget this week.
You know what? I'm going to make my transfer right now. I'm going to do Mateta and Mbeumo live, so we don't.
You going to lock in those lyrics?
Lock in those lyrics. All right.
I did it. Okay. All
right.
You heard it here.
How about you?
So I've got 1 free transfer. I got 0.6 mil in the bank. I honestly don't really know what I want to do. I think I'm going to bank this week. I don't love my squad this week, to be very honest. Like, I've got Nick Pope. I'm going to start him as my keeper against West Ham. I got Mark Ahey and Joe Roden starting in my back line. I'm probably going to go Van de Ven starting, but I'm honestly contemplating starting Reynaldo over Van de Ven. But it's hard for me to do that. It's hard for me to do that.
If he didn't score 2 goals last week, I think it'd probably be a little less hard.
That's the whole thing. My midfield right now is Salah, Kudus, Neto, Semenyo. I'm not going to not start Salah. I'm not going to not start Semenyo. Well, let me put it this way. My bench
that's a tough lineup.
I know.
Tough fixtures against that.
Yeah, the fixtures just are very tough. And then my front line's Holland, João Pedro, and Voltemade. Dubravka's my keeper playing Arsenal, so he's going to sit. So I've got one transfer to make. I thought about going João Pedro to Mateta similarly. I'd love to get Mbomo in. I've honestly thought about going Kudus to Eze because I could make that move in one shot.
That's probably a smart move.
Well, I could do that, or what I could do is I could hold off for 1 week, and then I could really open things up because I could then move off Salah, and then I could really move Salah and whomever I want to open up everything.
How much do you have in the bank?
Only 0.6. So if I'm,
why don't you just?
I could, or I could say, time to sell high on Semenyo. I don't know. Like, is Semenyo to Mbomo that much of a drop off?
No, I think that's an improvement.
I think right now, with the form that we've seen from Mbomo, it might be. It might be.
And we knew Semenyo was not going to keep up what he was doing in the beginning of the year.
No, right. And I mean, they're about to play City, and then they've got, Villa, then they got West Ham, Sunderland, Everton, though. So, like, that 3 fixture run, I kind of want to keep him for before they go Chelsea, United. I don't know. Semenyo, fixture-wise, I kind of want to keep him. Neto, I want to keep for the run. It's Kudus I want to get rid of. So I'm trying to target, like, Gabriel or Timber. I'm trying to target maybe Eze, trying to target Mbomo, trying to target Mateta. So I just don't know. To go from Salah straight to Mbomo, I could do it, but I know I'm going to be tempted to make another move by having all that money in the bank.
1 week, you can do it.
I know. So I need to stew a little bit. I need to mull a little bit. And then captaincy, I'm 99% locked in captaincy on Voltemade with my vice on Holland. So my instincts have been reliable lately, so I'm gonna stick with it.
You've been hot.
My last 7 game weeks have been phenomenal. So humble brag.
What about Tinkerton? What's his move for the week?
So Tinkerton's move for the week. So they are recommending no transfer this week. They already have a strong mid. So I actually did tinker with the prompt just a tad because I realized that I was not including the chips available in the prompt.
Okay.
So all
That's
I
fair.
did was basically say, here's the squad that we have. Here's, again, recommend up to the number of transfers we have. Here's what we have in the bank. And I said, I have wildcard, free hit, bench boost, and triple captain available. I said, after making a recommendation, select a starting lineup, a bench order, a captain, and a vice captain. So slightly more refined prompt. They said, no transfer this week, and here's the reasoning. You already have a strong midfield / forward core with Salah, Fernandes, Doku, Kudus, and João Pedro, and Evan Nilsson, who have good upside. Your bank is modest, so 0.8 mil for major upgrades. Making a small move might disrupt structure without offering huge benefit. According to the Gameweek 10 scouting and transfer tip previews, some players to buy. They actually mentioned Mateta. They're still priced above what a small bank move would allow. By holding your chance for this week, you give extra flexibility for a bigger upgrade, yada, yada, yada. They said hold. Sanchez is getting the start this week. Dubravka's on the bench. They are starting Pedro Porro, Mark Tarkowski, Ukiele. They're going to bench Richards and Goodmanson. Midfielders are going to start 5. So Salah, Fernandes, Doku, Kudus, Semenyo getting the start. João Pedro and Evan Nilsson are getting the start. Evan Nilsson is flagged, but they're going to start him. So whatever. Wood's going to get the bench. So the bench order is Richards at Crystal Palace, so he'll likely come on. Minson, who we know came off last week with an injury, but he's not flagged. I don't know what that's all about. And then Chris Wood's in the 3rd spot. Captaincy, they're giving it to Mo Salah. Vice
Interesting.
captain, they're giving it to Bruno.
Interesting. Okay.
So easy week this week because didn't have to make any changes.
I have to beat them this week. I can't.
Got to do it.
I got to beat them 2 weeks in a row.
Got to do it. Got to do it.
Give some space between us.
Yeah, for sure. And just really quick, because I'm looking at it, it looks like Saka and Pedro Neto are on the rise. It looks like Mateta's also on the rise.
It's because I just bought him.
Bomo, Zay. Yeah, so a lot of players we just discussed within the next day or two probably going up. So if you're, I think at this point, you might be okay. But right around the deadline, the deadline this week is going to be, I think, did we mention the deadline?
Mm-hmm.
Be Saturday, 9:30 Eastern. Get those transfers in time. You don't want to be a Jimbo and forget to make your transfers. That would be tough.
It worked out.
Yeah, I guess it did. All right, Jim, did we miss anything? I think
We
this
got
is
it
a fun
all.
one. I like the mailbox. I like answering people's questions. I think kind of had like a rabbi thing going. You know, we help people.
I don't know.
I don't know. We've my wife and I, we've been watching this show. It's called like Nobody Wants This. I don't know. He's a
Kristen,
rabbi or something. Kristen Bell. Yeah, she's a little spitfire. I think I'd like to hang out with her in real life. I
She
don't
got
know.
into a little controversy last week.
Did she? Honestly, I don't know. What'd she do? More than Morgan Gibbs White? Was it worse than what he did?
I think that's it for the week. Huh?
Oh, you're all choked up. Can you breathe? All right, listen, guys. Hey, if you've made it this far, thank you guys as always. Please do like us as always. Subscribe on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube. Drop us a comment, questions. We love the mailbox. Henry Paradise, let us know. Who are you captaining this week?
Talk to us. We need to hear from you.
Talk
Henry.
to us. We need to hear from you. Akshay, talk to us. We need to hear from you. As always, we will drop the code to our mini league in the description. And we will talk to you guys when Game Week 10 wraps up. We'll talk to you on the other side. And until then, happy tinkering.
Draft dreams rise like morning sun, chasing points, the game's begun. Big decisions week by week, fantasy glory's what we seek. Pick your squad, the clock won't wait. Captain choice will seal your fate. Two enthusiasts breaking it down. Fantasy kings, we're taking the crown.